There's a listing on eBay that refuses to die. It keeps coming back over and over again like a wound that won't heal. The item itself looks innocent enough at first glance. A porcelain doll with glassy blue eyes and a faded Victorian dress. But if you look closer, if you really pay attention, you'll notice something unsettling. The doll's smile seems too wide, too knowing, and in the reflection of those glass eyes, some buyers swear they can see a face that isn't theirs staring back. The first recorded sale happened in 2007. A woman from Ohio bought the doll for $12. She thought it would look nice in her daughter's room. 3 weeks later, she was found at the bottom of her basement stairs. Broken neck. The coroner ruled it an accident. Her husband, devastated and wanting nothing to remind him of his wife, sold off her belongings, including the doll. The second buyer was a collector from Texas. He specialized in antique toys and thought the doll had an interesting patina, a certain character that modern reproductions lacked. He kept it in a glass case in his study. His housekeeper found him 2 months later, slumped over his desk. Heart attack, they said. He was 34 years old and had run marathons. No history of heart problems. No warning signs. Just dead. Buyer number 3 was a paranormal investigator who had heard whispers about the doll online. She thought it would make excellent content for her YouTube channel. She set up cameras around the doll, hoping to capture something unexplainable. What the cameras captured instead was her final moments. She was found with her eyes wide open, frozen in an expression of absolute terror. The autopsy revealed nothing. No cause of death. Her heart simply stopped, as if someone had flipped a switch. By the 10th sale, people started connecting the dots. Forums buzzed with theories. Some said the doll was possessed by the spirit of a child who died in the 1800s. Others claimed it was a vessel for something far older, something that had never been human at all. The doll's eBay listings began including warnings. Disclaimers. Sellers begged potential buyers to understand what they were getting into. But there's something about forbidden things that makes people want them more. The 20th buyer was a priest who believed he could cleanse the object. He performed rituals, doused it in holy water, recited prayers in Latin that hadn't been spoken in centuries. He was found in his church, hanging from the bell tower. The official report called it suicide. His family insisted he would never do such a thing. He had been happy, they said. He had been looking forward to his niece's wedding. 30 buyers in, and the pattern was undeniable. Every single person who had purchased the doll was dead. Car accidents, house fires, sudden illnesses that baffled doctors. Some deaths looked natural. Others were violent, brutal, impossible to explain. But they all had one thing in common. The doll was always found nearby, untouched, unharmed, with that same knowing smile. Researchers tried to trace the doll's origins. They dug through historical records, auction house archives, estate sale documents. What they found was fragmentary, disturbing. The doll appeared to have been crafted in Germany in 1889 by a toymaker named Friedrich Weiss. Weiss was known for his exquisite craftsmanship, but he was also known for something else. His entire family died under mysterious circumstances. His wife, his 3 children, even the family dog, all gone within a single winter. Weiss himself vanished shortly after. His workshop was found empty, except for a single doll sitting in the center of the room. This doll, by the 40th sale, the internet had given a name. They called it the Wiedergänger Doll, after the German word for one who walks again. People speculated that Weiss had done something unspeakable to create it, that he had poured his grief, his madness, maybe even something darker into its porcelain form. Some theorized that every death fed it, made it stronger, more hungry. The 45th buyer was a billionaire who collected cursed objects. He had rooms full of supposedly haunted items, mirrors, music boxes, paintings with eyes that followed you. He thought the doll would be the crown jewel of his collection. His private island was found abandoned 6 months later. His body was never recovered. Only the doll remained, sitting on his bed, facing the door as if waiting for someone new. Now here's where the story gets truly disturbing. The 50th buyer purchased the doll just 3 months ago. She was a skeptic, a journalist who wanted to debunk the whole thing. She documented everything. Her videos showed a woman laughing at the absurdity of it all, mocking the superstitious buyers who came before her. In her final video, uploaded the night before she died, she mentioned something strange. She said she kept waking up at exactly 3 in the morning. She said she could hear footsteps in her hallway, small footsteps like a child's. She laughed it off, blamed old pipes and an overactive imagination. Her body was found the next morning. Her camera was still recording. The footage shows nothing but 8 hours of darkness and silence. But if you listen carefully, if you turn the volume all the way up, you can hear something. Breathing. And beneath the breathing, something that might be words. Might be a name. Might be your name. The doll is back on eBay now. The listing went up yesterday. Someone will buy it. Someone always does. Maybe they think they're different. Maybe they think they're stronger, smarter, more prepared than the 50 who came before. Or maybe they just don't believe in curses, in spirits, in the idea that some objects can hold onto evil the way others hold onto dust. But here's the thing about the Wiedergänger doll. It's patient. It's been patient for over 100 years. It doesn't rush. It doesn't need to, because sooner or later, someone clicks that buy button. Sooner or later, someone invites it into their home. And then it waits. It waits for you to get comfortable, to convince yourself that nothing is wrong. It waits for you to stop checking over your shoulder. It waits for you to forget about it, to push it to the back of your mind like a bad dream you can barely remember. And then, when you're not expecting it, when you're at your most vulnerable, it comes for you. Maybe you'll hear those small footsteps in the hallway. Maybe you'll wake up at 3 in the morning to find it sitting at the foot of your bed, those glass eyes reflecting something that shouldn't be there. Maybe you'll just go to sleep one night and never wake up. Nobody knows how the doll chooses its victims. Nobody knows why it kills. Some say it's punishment for disturbing the dead. Others believe it's feeding on something, growing stronger with every soul it claims. And a few, the ones who have studied it the longest, believe that Friedrich Weiss is still in there, somewhere, trapped in his own creation, unable to stop what he set in motion over a century ago. The listing is still active. I checked before recording this. Starting bid is 99 cents. There are already 12 watchers. 12 people who are curious, who want to know if the legends are true. 12 people who might become number 51. Maybe you're one of them. Maybe you're watching this and thinking it's all nonsense, just another creepy story designed to get clicks and views. Maybe you're right. Maybe the 50 deaths are coincidence, confirmation bias, urban legend run amok. Or maybe, just maybe, some things aren't meant to be explained. Some things aren't meant to be bought and sold and collected like trinkets. Some things are meant to be left alone, buried, forgotten that you're still here. Good, because the story doesn't end with 50 deaths. The story never really ends. It just keeps collecting chapters, written in obituaries and police reports, and the confused grief of families who will never understand what really happened. Let me tell you about the woman who almost survived. Her name was Elena Marchetti. She was buyer number 37. A professor of folklore at a university in Rome, she had spent her entire career studying cursed objects, haunted artifacts, the intersection between human belief and supernatural phenomena. When she heard about the Wiedergänger doll, she didn't see a threat. She saw a research opportunity. Elena did something no other buyer had done. She didn't bring the doll into her home. Instead, she rented a storage unit on the outskirts of the city, a concrete box with no windows and a reinforced steel door. She placed the doll inside, locked it away, and observed it remotely through cameras she had installed in every corner. For 3 weeks, nothing happened. The doll sat motionless on its metal shelf, staring at the wall with those empty glass eyes. Elena began to think she had outsmarted it. She wrote in her journal that perhaps the curse required proximity, that the doll needed to be near its victim to do its work. She congratulated herself on her cleverness. On day 22, she reviewed the footage from the previous night. At exactly 3:14 in the morning, the camera feed went to static for 7 seconds. When it returned, the doll had moved. It was no longer facing the wall. It was facing the camera, facing her. Elena told herself it was an earthquake, a vibration from a passing truck, anything rational. But she couldn't explain the smile. She had photographed the doll extensively when it arrived. She had measured the exact angle of its painted lips. The smile was wider now, by 2 millimeters, imperceptible to anyone who wasn't looking for it. But Elena was looking, and she saw. She decided to destroy the doll. Fire, she thought. Fire purifies everything. She drove to the storage unit with a canister of gasoline and a box of matches. She unlocked the door. The doll was gone. Not moved, not hidden, gone. Elena searched every inch of that storage unit. She checked the security footage. The doll had been there at 8 in the morning when she left her apartment. It was not there at 2 in the afternoon when she arrived. No one had entered. No one had left. The door had remained locked the entire time. She drove home in a daze, her hands trembling on the steering wheel. When she opened her apartment door, she smelled something strange. Old fabric, dust, the faint chemical sweetness of antique porcelain. The doll was sitting on her bed, waiting. Elena Marchetti died 9 days later. Brain aneurysm, the doctors said. She was 41 years old, a marathon runner, a vegetarian, a woman who had never smoked a cigarette in her life. Her colleagues found her research notes, pages and pages of frantic handwriting documenting everything she had observed. The final entry, written hours before her death, contained only 3 words: "It knows everything." Her notes were eventually leaked online. They became a kind of Bible for people obsessed with the doll, a roadmap of what not to do. Don't try to contain it. Don't try to study it. Don't try to understand it. Because the moment you start paying attention to the doll, it starts paying attention to you. But there's another part of Elena's research that people don't talk about as much. In her notes, she described a recurring dream she started having after the doll arrived. She was standing in a dark room, and she could hear a child crying. She would follow the sound through endless hallways, opening door after door, getting closer but never quite arriving. And then, just before she woke up, she would feel something grab her ankle. Something cold, something small. Other buyers reported the same dream. Buyer number 12, a retired teacher from Japan, mentioned it in his final email to a friend. Buyer number 29, a teenager who bought the doll as a joke, posted about it on Reddit 3 days before he drowned in his bathtub. Buyer number 44, an elderly woman from Argentina, told her priest about the crying child in her dreams. He found her body the next morning, rosary clutched in her frozen hands. The dreams are a warning, or maybe they're an invitation. Maybe the doll is showing its victims where they're going, the dark place it's preparing for them. Maybe Friedrich Weiss is still there, in that endless hallway, waiting for company. 50 souls and counting, trapped in porcelain purgatory. Now, here's something that will keep you awake tonight. I told you earlier that the doll is back on eBay. What I didn't tell you is that I've been tracking the listing, watching it, studying the patterns, and I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The seller's account was created in 2007, the same year as the first recorded death. The account has sold exactly one item over and over again for 18 years. The same doll, the same listing, the same photographs that never quite capture the details, that always seem slightly blurred, as if the camera itself is afraid to look too closely. But here's the thing. I traced the account to its original owner, a woman from Ohio, the first buyer, the one who fell down her basement stairs. The account was created under her name, her email, her address. She's been dead for 18 years. But someone keeps logging in. Someone keeps relisting the doll. Someone keeps collecting the money and shipping the package to a new victim. I reached out to eBay support. They couldn't explain it. The account shows activity, regular logins, but the IP addresses are scrambled, untraceable, bouncing through servers that don't exist. One technician, before he stopped responding to my emails, said something that haunts me. He said the login locations formed a pattern when you mapped them out. A spiral that started in Ohio and wound its way across the globe, touching every city where a buyer had died. The spiral is still growing. There's a theory among the online communities that follow this case. They believe the doll isn't just killing people, it's recruiting them. Every buyer who dies becomes part of it, absorbed into whatever darkness lives inside that painted smile. The first buyer runs the eBay account. The second buyer handles the shipping. The 15th buyer writes the listing descriptions that lure new victims in. 50 souls working together, a ghostly corporation with a single product and an endless hunger for customers. And if that theory is true, then the doll isn't getting weaker with each death. It's getting stronger, more organized, more efficient. 50 minds working toward a single goal. Finding buyer number 51. I need to tell you something else. Something I've been avoiding because saying it out loud makes it real. 3 nights ago, I woke up at 3:14 in the morning. I was covered in sweat, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. I had been dreaming. A dark room, endless hallways, a child crying somewhere in the distance. I told myself it was a coincidence. I've been researching this story for weeks, immersing myself in the details, reading the testimonies of the dead. Of course, it's affecting my subconscious. Of course, I'm having nightmares. It doesn't mean anything. But then I checked my email. There was a message in my spam folder. No sender address. No subject line. Just a single link to an eBay listing. The doll's listing. And beneath the link, a single sentence. We've been watching you too. I didn't click the link. I deleted the email. I told myself it was a prank, someone who knew I was working on this story, trying to scare me. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed, that a door had been opened somewhere, and something had walked through. Last night, I woke up again at 3:14. This time, I heard footsteps in my hallway. Small footsteps, like a child's. I live alone. I'm telling you this not to scare you. I'm telling you because you need to understand what you're dealing with. The Wiedergänger Doll doesn't just kill its buyers. It reaches out. It extends its influence. It touches everyone who gets too close to its story, everyone who looks too long into those glass eyes. Maybe you think you're safe because you're just listening, just watching. You haven't bought anything. You haven't clicked any links. You're just a passive observer, separated by screens and distance and the comfortable illusion of safety. But the doll doesn't see it that way. The doll sees interest, curiosity, attention. And attention is a kind of invitation. Every time you think about the doll, you're opening a door. Every time you wonder if the story is true, you're stepping closer to the threshold. The current listing has been active for 72 hours now. The bid is up to $47. There are 31 watchers, 31 potential victims, 31 people who might click that button and seal their fate. But here's what keeps me up at night. What if watching is enough? What if you don't need to buy the doll? What if knowing about it, thinking about it, dreaming about it is enough to draw its attention? I've been researching for weeks. I know more about the Wiedergänger doll than almost anyone alive. And now I'm having the dreams. Now I'm hearing the footsteps. Now I'm waking up at 3:14 in the morning, drenched in sweat, with the feeling that something is standing just outside my door, waiting for me to open it. Maybe I'm already buyer 51. Maybe you are too. The listing is still active. I'm looking at it right now. The doll's photograph fills my screen, those glass eyes staring back at me with that knowing smile. And I swear this isn't my imagination, but the smile looks wider than it did yesterday. 2 millimeters, just enough to notice. If something happens to me, if this is the last story I ever tell, I want you to remember one thing. Don't look for the listing. Don't search for the doll. Don't try to verify anything I've told you. Some things are better left unknown. Some doors are better left closed. But I know you won't listen. I didn't listen either. And now the footsteps are getting closer. Now the crying is getting louder. Now the door is starting to open. Good night. Sleep well. And whatever you do, don't check your email at 3:14 in the morning. Because something might be waiting for you there. Something with glass eyes. Something that never stops smiling. Something that already knows your name.